Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is June 9, 2023, and we are getting into the volume 113 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all your comments pulled up in front of me. As always, before beginning, I'm gonna mention I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in this video on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. Speaking of the visa bulletin, there's a brand new July 2023 visa bulletin that literally just came out yesterday or the day before yesterday, and there is actually a video I've made on it. There were some positive changes for some of the categories and some that were not so positive because there wasn't any change at all. So if you haven't seen the video on July 2023 visa bulletin, check it out if you are dealing with the family preference categories, the I-130 petition. Alrighty, let's start with the very first question comment from Bishop Paul Mays. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. So Bishop Paul is asking, I am IR1. My priority date is 02/08/2020, so February 8th or August 2nd, 2020. My documentarily qualified date is 14/02. Okay, so it's February 14th. So, okay, got it. How do I know when I am current? Okay, so Bishop Paul, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So the good news is that you are already current. Because you were already documentarily qualified, obviously your petition was already approved by USCIS, and because you are in IR category, which is immediate relative, once your petition is approved by USCIS, the immigrant visa is already available. So now that you were documentarily qualified, the only thing that is left is to go for an interview. Well, do the medical examination, do the interview, get the immigrant visa, and that's really it. Done with the process. Now, the question is when the interview is going to be scheduled. Because you're not dealing with the visa backlog, you're not dealing with the visa bulletin at all, which is definitely good news, and you were documentarily qualified in February 2023, so that is, let's see, just about 4 months ago. Typically, depending on where, which U.S. embassy it is in which country, depending on how busy that U.S. embassy is, typically the interviews are scheduled after becoming documentarily qualified in immediate relative category, somewhere within 6 months, roughly around 6 months, and the interview is scheduled. The reason most of the times why, because most likely the interview was already scheduled. It's just they did not send you the notice. The reason why they don't send you the notice is because they have to notify you of the interview only 30 days before the interview. So let's say, for example, if your interview is already scheduled for August 1st, you will only get the notice that the interview is scheduled for August 1st on or around July 1st. So like June 31st, or I don't know if we have June. We gotta look at the calendar. Let me look at the calendar. June. So we have June 30th. So yes, so it's going to be July 1st, actually. So 30 days exactly before the interview date. And the reason why they do it is because they want to give you 30 days and not more than that to get your medical examination done before the interview. One thing that you can do if you want to, I mean, right now everything seems fine, everything seems within the normal range, usually how long it takes. But if you want, you can call the U.S. embassy in the country where the interview is going to be taking place and ask them if they can give you the information on when the interview was scheduled for. Sometimes, most of the times they say we can't give you that information, but I have seen cases where people call and they got their answer and they were told when the interview is going to be. But I think it should be anywhere around the corner now. A couple more months. Alrighty. And then also another comment from Bishop Paul says, good morning, you're doing a great job. You help us understand the process. Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words. Alrighty, moving further to Shabana Khan. My priority date is September 25, 2017. I see visa bulletin is moved to September 1st, 2017 in July. So do I have to look out for email from NVC or a welcome letter? My case, F11, unmarried daughter. Okay, so F1, let's take a look at F1. We are at September 2017, so I'm assuming it's all chargeability. So we're going to be looking at the visa bulletin. Let's take a look at the graph A. Well, graph A because I think Shabana is still waiting for Shabana, I think, is still waiting for the NVC portal to fully open up to become documentarily qualified. So we're not going to be looking at the graph A, we're going to be looking at the graph B, because it is the graph B that shows us when there will be a full access to the NVC portal to become documentarily qualified. So right now, F1, we see 01 September 17. And Shabana's priority date is September 25, 2017. Okay. So she says move to September 1st, 2017. September 1st. It is 1st. Okay, so let me double check what was in June, just for comparison, so that I know exactly what Shabana is referring to. Okay, well, it's taking a little bit long. There you go. B. Okay, so it was January 2017. So from January 17, looks like it moved. So that was one of the really, really positive moves from June to July, because it moved from January to September 2017. So yes, Shabana, you are 100% correct. Looks like you are just like 3 weeks, a little bit over 3 weeks away from the NVC portal fully opening up so that you can become documentarily qualified. So you're almost there, right before the next stage. Exciting, becoming documentarily qualified. If you have not seen the video that I have on this channel, it's called Documentarily Qualified, What Does It Mean? Check it out. I highly recommend checking out. And if anyone, if you're watching this video and if you have the I-130 petition and you haven't been documentarily qualified yet, check out that video, because in that video I show a real NVC portal that was already documentarily qualified. In fact, the person, they already received their permanent resident card. But you can see there which applications you need to submit, the S260, affidavit of support, how much are the fees, what kind of documents you need to upload, and you can see how it looks. So when it is open, by the time it is open, you might already be able to prepare some of these documents. And once it is open, the faster you can submit all these documents, the faster you can become documentarily qualified, the better, because then after that you're just waiting for the availability of the immigrant visa and then the interview, just going and getting that immigrant visa. But yes, Shabana, you are just under a month away from getting the full access to the NVC portal. Please come back to the channel and let us know once it's fully open and once you start the process. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, becoming documentarily qualified, don't hesitate to come back and ask your questions. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Gleb Gubin. Gleb, thank you very much for another comment. Appreciate it. So Gleb says, hello, sir. Well, looks like there's a very sad situation. One hand, in the beginning of the year, US government said that they will decrease this backlog in this year drastically. Yeah, it's fake news completely. On the other hand, for my specific category F1, there are no movements at all for about 1 year and 7 months, except little movement in May from December 1st to December 15. But then again, totally nothing. Want to ask for your opinion. Do you think it's a good idea to get somehow collective complaint letter to NVC or whatever other way we can do it? I'm talking specifically for my F1 category because I think I can't apply for complaints to another. And maybe to find some lawyer who intentionally may be interested in this case for his portfolio as an experience, and maybe that way with the complaint from thousands of US citizens that have been waiting for almost 9 years. I'm personally in 8 years of waiting already for their reunification, and maybe it may help. I understand that it was a COVID, but let's just be honest, the pandemic is over about 2 years ago already, and it's officially over a few months ago. It's just such a bummer that happened. It's always sad when it's very depends on people's life. It's not a line for milk and some grocery, Gleb, I 100% agree with your comment. It's sad, it is ridiculous, and honestly, I keep saying it myself. I keep justifying the ridiculous increase of the backlog and the complete, the complete stoppage that we've seen for so long on the visa bulletin with this whole pandemic situation. But at the same time, if you think about it, If we are waiting for the availability of the immigrant visas and nothing is being processed, the time is still, the time is still elapsing. The whole year still elapsed. So we should have had, all these applications from this year, while they were waiting. Okay, maybe I understand there is a little bit of a delay in the scheduling of the interviews, because now there were, we had a lot of downtime with the U.S. embassies that were closed during the pandemic. I understand that. Backlog on the interviews. I understand that. But I don't understand, honestly, the dumb system that we already have with the whole, visa bulletin and waiting for the availability of the immigrant visa each year, because there's a limited availability of visas available. I don't understand how the pandemic affected that, because, okay, so yes, the immigrant visas were not issued, but then again, they're issued by the U.S. embassies. Visa bulletins shouldn't have been affected, but this is kind of a pointless discussion, because at the end of the day, just discussing this stuff is really not going to fix this stuff. You do have the right idea in mind about the collective complaint. What really needs to happen is the awareness needs to happen. That's what needs to happen, because a lot of people do not realize. Have you ever heard this issue? U.S. citizens waiting for their sons and daughters for 9 years to reunite with them. Have you heard anything about that on the news? No, because it's not beneficial to the news anchors. It's not beneficial to CNN, to Fox News, to MSN. They don't care about this stuff. They can care less about this stuff. And the reason why they can care less about this stuff is because there is no money. There is no money for media. There is no money for politicians in this. There's no benefit in talking about this at all. That's why it's always kind of thrown under the rug. So if there is a way to bring awareness to this and let people know that this situation is happening, at the core of the problem is not even the NVC, because NVC is just a National Visa Center, part of the Department of State. What they overlook is they just overlook the process based on the existing legislation. And the existing legislation that you can actually find on the Visa Bulletin, it's the Section 201 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. That was put in place by the U.S. Congress. So it is the U.S. Congress, it is our elected officials that one day, decided that for whatever reason, the family-sponsored categories, the family reunification cases, and the visas that are available should be limited to 226,000 each year, which is crazy, because we have way more people illegally crossing the border way more each year compared to the people who are legally applying, who already are naturalized citizens and permanent residents that are applying for their relatives. So if we are doing any kind of complaint, if we are doing any kind of letter or any kind of lawsuits, that should be directed at the Congress, at the U.S. Congress, and not the NVC or just the Department of State should definitely be involved in that. Will there be an attorney that will take on this kind of task? I do not know. We might try. Maybe if more people find out, somebody might be interested. Maybe I really don't know. But at the core of the problem, really, is this number right here, and this part of the Immigration and Nationality Act that was enacted by U.S. Congress, because they are the legislative branch of the U.S. government. So if we can get rid of that, if we can get rid of this dumb limitation that makes absolutely no sense, serves absolutely no good purpose, only bad. There is no benefit of it. I just cannot come up with a reasonable explanation for it. Yeah, then of course we might be able to change, but again, the problem with this is that there is no interest in it whatsoever. There is no money in it. There is no popularity in it. There's no nothing. Nobody talks about it on the news. You don't hear politicians say, "Oh yes, we're gonna help reunite." Families will reunite. When they talk about families reunite, they talk about illegal immigrants crossing the border, and yeah, that's the kind of stuff they talk about. But whenever it comes to people who legally came to this country, did everything legally, and now legally petitioning for their family members, they don't care about that stuff, unfortunately. So Gleb, honestly, I don't know. If you have any ideas, you let me know. If anybody who's watching this video, if you have any ideas, if you have any immigration attorneys that you are friends with, someone who is, because here's the thing, you need to find someone that is not doing it for money or popularity. Because if you find someone who's doing it for money or popularity, forget about it. Forget about that person, because they already don't have the intentions in a good place. Because right here we're not dealing with financial issue. We're dealing with serious things. We're dealing with family. All right, and this is way more than money. It's way more than popularity or anything like this. So the people that are involved in this process, they have to be involved for the right reasons, and not just someone who is trying to become popular or make some money. Because at the end of the day, there is no money that's involved in this. There is no popularity that's involved in this. If they get rid of this limit, it's going to be fantastic, but it's not going to bring them money. So that's kind of the dead end situation that we're getting into. But again, tell this to people. Talk about this to people with people, explain this to people, and like I've been saying in every video pretty much for the past I don't know how long, if you're here in the United States of America, if you're a permanent resident or US citizen, reach out to your local elected officials, reach out to the congressman from your state, and tell them about this problem, and tell them that this is ridiculous. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Danica de Mesa. So Danica says, "Hello, good day. How about my boyfriend," or BF, I'm assuming that's boyfriend, "is not already citizen in America, but he wanted me to go in America. What's the process on that and how long it takes? So much appreciated." Danica, thank you for your question. So it really depends on what status your boyfriend is here in the United States of America. I mean, if he's not a U.S. citizen, maybe he's a permanent resident. In that case, of course, there are a few things that he can do. He can just do a regular invitation for you, just a regular non-immigrant B1, B2 visitor invitation, just a regular, nothing official, nothing crazy, very easy process. And you just go to the U.S. Embassy in your country with that invitation, show them the invitation and say, "Hey, I want to go and visit the United States of America." Very simple. Also, he can do a fiancé visa. Again, if he's a permanent resident, so you can come on the fiancé visa, the K1 visa. That's an option. And then, of course, if he's a permanent resident, then there's always an ability. Not an ability. There's always an option for him to go to your country and then marry you, and then petition for you as his spouse, as a spouse of permanent resident. Now, if he doesn't have the permanent residence, he can't really do the invitation because it's really for U.S. citizens and permanent residents. In that situation, maybe you probably do you want him to be involved in you coming to the United States, because there's really not much he can do, like petition for you or invite you. In that case, obviously, again, you can just do a regular B1, B2, because you can apply for it without the invitation and just say that you want to go and you want to visit your boyfriend. But it's a little bit of a risky, it's going to be a little bit of a risky situations. Why? Because if you say that in the US Embassy, they might say, "Oh, okay, so you're going to visit your boyfriend there, and then you will get married, and then you will stay, so now you have the immigration intentions while applying for a non-immigrant visa." You definitely don't want to create that impression. But if you want, let me know a little bit more about his status, what his status here in the United States, and I might be able to give you a little bit more information, a little bit more options. Just make sure when you are, if, and it goes for everyone who's watching this video, if you're responding to my comment, if you have any additional information or you have additional question, please don't respond to my comment within your comment, because I don't receive those notifications. Please submit it as a separate comment. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Google account. So Google account says, hey buddy, I want an information. My second cousin, mother's cousin children are living in USA, and they always told me regarding my immigration. Am I eligible for this kind of immigration, or are they just making me fool while saying this from 5 years? Well, it really depends on. So you have two cousins, mother's cousin children, two cousins, mother's cousin children are living in USA, and they always told me regarding my immigration. Okay, first of all, it really depends on what status they are on. Okay, I don't really understand the relationship. If you're talking about the family reunification, in that case, there's a few options, right? It's either the parents that can petition for their children, or children can petition for their parents if they're U.S. citizens. If it's U.S. citizens, they can also petition for their brothers, for their sisters. Cousins, they can't petition for each other. Unfortunately, that's not an option, at least yet. What exactly are they telling you? Like, what kind of immigration are they talking about? Are they talking about, some kind of status that you can apply on, some kind of program that you can apply for? I mean, there might be some kind of programs from your country where you're at to come to the United States of America. I mean, there's always options, but again, it's really kind of hard to tell from your comment what kind of immigration pathway they are suggesting to you. So please let me know a little bit more details, and I'll see if I can answer, if you give you a little bit more information on this. Alrighty, let's move to the next one from Stefan Nhoroj. Stefan, I'm definitely mispronouncing your last name. Sorry about that. And thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. I appreciate that. So Stefan says, hi sir, I see EB3 has retrogressed again to February 2022 from June 22. So, wow. So it's what is it, 5 months? 4 months? Am I reading it right? Please consider looking at the employment category in future episodes. So that was on the visa bulletin. Stefan, thank you very much for that request. Actually, I was thinking about doing employment based as well whenever it comes to the visa bulletin, but I never had anybody ask any questions. So now that you asked, I think I will start doing it with next editions of the visa bulletin, separately for family immigration, separately for the employment based. But let's take a look at the visa bulletin employment based, and we will see. So we got third preference category right here, February 22, and you said it retrogressed to February 22. So let me check the June first and see if I'm reading it correctly, and I'm reading the same thing that you are looking at. So 3 June. Let's see, EB3. Okay, yes. So yes, June. So it definitely did retrogress. So June, it was processing from June, and now, wait a second. It's processing June now, and now it is processing, let's see, July. So it was processing June, and now it's processing February. So it used to process June, and yeah, it did retrogress. It did retrogress. It did went back. It did go back. So February, March, April, May, June. So roughly 4 months it went back. Wow. So even the employment based are going back, which is weird because employment based, most of the times you see most of the stuff is current, and there's rarely any problems with the employment based stuff. So maybe a year, 2 years max, and that's it. Well, there's some fourth category, which is like close to 5 years, but still, compared to the family-based, family preferences, it's not even close, the amount of the delay. But yes, it did definitely go right. It did. You are definitely reading it correctly. It did go back a few months, which is pretty sad. But still not that bad. Only about a year away, less than a year. Oh no, actually a little bit more than a year now. But yes, Stefan, thank you very much for the request. I will definitely start doing the employment base now because, well, now that I have interest on this channel about the employment based stuff, I'll definitely do that. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Saeed Mohammed. Saeed says, Hi, my case F3, date 28/8/2010. What time my interview? And then Eldeka Hema says they were working in 2010 since last year and are still working on it. You should call them if you don't hear anything from them. Okay, so let's take a look. F3 and August 2010. F3, let's see, F3. Okay, so F3 August 2010, and looks like, well, Saeed, looks like you didn't get your you're not documentarily qualified yet, are you? Because it looks like just now for F3 in March 10 and you're August, so March, April, May, June, July. So you're about 4 months away from the NVC portal fully opening up, where you can become documentarily qualified. So you still have quite a couple of years to wait for the interview, for the availability of the immigrant visa. But the NVC portal should be opening up pretty soon so that you can start your documentary qualification process. Correct me if I'm wrong, and please submit a separate comment if you are already documentarily qualified, because I have seen some cases where the NVC portal was open even before the priority dates became current on the graph B. I have seen that happen. So if that's the case, let me know. But according to the visa bulletin, you should have your full access to the NVC portal in a few months, and then you are looking at roughly another 2 years for the availability. Well, not 2 years, actually a little bit less, like a year and a half roughly for the availability of the immigrant visa. So you're looking at your interview in about 2 years roughly total. So let me put this here and we're gonna move on to the next one. And Eldeka Hema, thank you, by the way, for answering the question. I really appreciate everyone who is commenting on the existing comments and answering questions. It really helps, it helps everyone. It's a blessing when you can help, and it's very nice to, because I'm not able to get to all of the questions, and if you can answer somebody's question on this channel, I'm really grateful for it. Alrighty, probably our last question for today. Moving further to Nargis Aliva. Hello, thanks for video. It is really helpful. I have one question about filing application. My mom is legal permanent resident and I am 27 years old and unmarried. She is filing I-130 application for me. I am her beneficiary. However, mostly I am filing application because her English is not very well. Should we notice that beneficiary helps her to fill application? Is this legally that beneficiary assists to petitioner to fill application? Can it be the reason of any problems or delays? Thanks in advance. Nargis, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking. So no, absolutely no problems at all with that. You don't even have to bother with me, because you know how at the very end of the application there is an option to put your name as a preparer or the interpreter. You don't even have to bother with this because you are part of the application. So whether it is you that filled it out, whether it is your mom that partly filled it out, it's completely fine. You don't have to worry about any of this. And along the process too, one thing that I would recommend, actually, that kind of got me thinking, because once you get to the NVC, once USCIS approves the petition, they will send it to the NVC for further processing, where you become documentarily qualified. And again, I've been talking about documentarily qualification quite a few times already in this video. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out. It is on this channel. It's called Documentarily Qualified. What does it mean? So there you can actually see the real NVC portal and how it looks and what information you need to provide there. But one recommendation that I wanted to give you is, because NVC, National Visa Center, is very, very heavy on emails, make sure to put your email in there that is that is your existing email that you constantly check, and once the USCIS approves your I-130 petition, make sure to check that email every day, checking the spam folder, everything, because you will get the email from NVC, the portal, all of the access information is going to be sent through the email. If you don't provide the email, that goes for everyone else. If you don't provide the email, it's not a big deal, not the end of the world, because you will receive the letters with all of the same information. But it saves a lot of time when you have, once there is an update on your case, once there is a notification, you get it instantly in your email rather than waiting for the physical letter. So thank you very much everyone for tuning in for today's video. If you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to ask them. Just post them, just don't respond to my comment within your comment, because I don't see the notifications for those. YouTube don't send me notifications for those. But just submit a separate comment under any of the videos and your question will show up on this wall right here. So thanks again for your questions. Thank you for your time. God bless, and I will see you all in the next video.